But there's more to it than that, and that is the sustainment of this platform itself. Extending this deployments like the Ford do not just strain the crew, they create maintenance backlogs that reverberate across the entire fleet, because it's not just that one ship, it is also the support vessels that are necessary. Thus, our options are limited for future contingencies, throwing career availability plans out of the balance, and while our force deployed base our needs of the COCOMs, I want to be very direct that we need transparency, accountability of the cascading effects that these extended deployments have on the maintenance schedules, on readiness, and on the quality of life, and on the retention. The same pressures that now confined to the carrier are not confined to the carrier fleet. We talked, the chairman talked about the Marine Corps. I'll short this part of it, but there is a very serious problem with the Marines and their ability to meet the requirements that they have. Obviously, the ships that they need are not available, but they could be if they were properly maintained. And so we're going to drill down on that piece of it. I'll let this part of my testimony go for a moment because the chairman covered it in detail. We have many, many challenges ahead of us. Space Force, and in fact all of you, lost a significant portion of your civilian workforce due to personnel reductions. Without going in that in great detail, it is creating a problem, particularly since your budgets were significantly increased in the 25-26 period of time. And are those increases able to be carried out without the civilian force available to do the paperwork, the contracts, and the like? With regard to the Space Force, you are scheduled under the new budget proposal to double. How do you do that? And what do you need to be able to carry that out? I value the conversations that we've had on this. And finally, I do want to pick up one of the more persistent and frustrating readiness problems facing all of you, and that is the lack of access to technical data that our maintainers need to repair the equipment that we own. This is not a new problem, but it's an urgent one, and it is the direct result of sustainment being treated as an afterthought during the acquisition process. We continue to talk about this here. We continue to drive this issue. Last year's NDAA made meaningful progress by requiring life cycle sustainment to be considered in the acquisition decisions. Now, why this hasn't been done over the last 40 years, I don't know. Maybe it's because this committee did not see it as a necessity. As the department works to implement these reforms, we'll be watching closely to see how they translate into real acquisition decisions. So let me be clear, we're going to monitor this, and if there are acquisition decisions being made without taking into account the life cycle, and I'm not talking about the cost only, I'm talking about all of the parts and pieces and necessary information necessary to sustain these platforms. However, this cannot be the only forward-looking fix. We must look back to our legacy and current platforms to determine how best to equip our maintainers with the technical packages needed to perform maintenance on the government-owned equipment and platforms. I know the Army has been moving forward on the right to repair, but apparently that has not translated into the necessary availability of the platforms themselves. I want to know more about your efforts from the Army, and for the rest of you, you should be listening if you haven't done it yourself. Maybe the Army can lead the way, as they like to say every fall. I want to thank each of our witnesses for being here. I look forward to your testimony and to working with all of you. Know that with the chairman and I and the members of the committee, we're going to press you very hard. We are very, very concerned about the availability of the platforms, all of them, whether they are a Abrams tank or an F-35. The problem persists across every platform. including almost every one of the military, the naval vessels, and the Air Force. With regard to the Space Force, you may be new to this, and we don't want you to develop what has become a persistent problem with the Department of Defense, and that is maintaining the equipment that we have. It does little good to have 300 ships, only 50% of them can go to sea. And that persists across every one of your departments. So with that, I yield back. I see the chairman is left for a few moments, and this backup team is here. I yield back.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Caramandy, for your 20 minutes of opening statements. Gentlemen, if you could keep your statements to about 5 minutes, we would appreciate it, so that we have time for questions and hopefully maybe even a second round. We'll start with General Leneve, and when you hit your 5 minutes, we'll just move on down the line. Today we have General Leneve, we have Admiral Kilby, General Lamontagne. Did I say that right? No, but
Lamontagne.
Lamontagne. Sorry about it. General Gehring and General Bratton. General Leneve, please.
Representative Scott, Ranking Member Garamendi, thank you for the opportunity to appear before the subcommittee today. We're grateful for your engagement on issues that shapes the lives of our soldiers and their families. Every decision I make as the Vice Chief begins and ends with one question. Does this make our soldiers more lethal and ready to fight and win when called upon? Today, over 212,000 soldiers are deployed or forward postured across 160 countries, securing our interests in the Western Hemisphere, deterring aggression in the Indo-Pacific, and responding to threats worldwide. In the Middle East, our soldiers continue to defend U.S. forces and partners, sustain layered air defense and missile defense, maintain our long-range strike capabilities, and our sustainment forces are postured across the theater, moving fuel, munitions, and medical support, while command posts integrate joint fires and intelligence to respond to the evolving threats. Operations overseas are sustained by the command structure and ready forces we maintain at home. We consolidated Army North and South into Western Hemisphere Command to create a single unified headquarters responsible for homeland defense. And in the Indo-Pacific, the Army maintains 91,000 troops and committed $1.3 billion to the Pacific Deterrence Initiative. We're decisively modernizing our full spectrum of capabilities to counter any pacing threat. And commanding in Korea showed me that years of combined training and shared risk with regional partners creates relationships that cannot be forged in crisis. Those enduring bonds built through repetition and sustained presence underpin our posture